So here we are with Stephen Allen and Carolina Allen, husband and wife. And I understand from Carolina that you guys actually joined Pace's SubTo community back in 2021. Is that
Yep.
correct?
2021. Yep.
When the community was only about 2,000 or 3,000 people. So can you tell us a little bit about how that happened? What
Yeah,
brought you to real estate?
sure. Well, I was listening to the radio and I heard an advertisement one day, about some 3-day seminar learning about real estate. I'm like, hey, Caroline, you want to go to this? And she's like, I'll go with you. And sat in there and she's arms crossed the beginning of it, and by the end of it, she's like, oh my gosh, we need to get into this. And just because of the planning and not having the money for when our parents get older and that sort of thing, because we're going to need to take care of that sort of stuff. And so we joined this mentorship. Do not recommend it, but what was good about it is it gave us this great foundation to they're geared towards fix and flips. So it gave us a great foundation on how to run comps and how to do look at deals and underwrite them and that sort of thing. And we worked on that for a while, and then COVID hit, and it forced us to pivot, and we went virtual and started joining another place to learn how to do marketing online through Facebook groups, kind of similar to the Lonza method. And we got a couple, and when I say we, I mean Carolina. She works all the business pretty much on there, and I contribute when I can. The doing wholesaling virtually, which then one of our great good friends, Chris Padua, said, "Hey guys," he was in that other mentorship. Said, "Hey guys, you need to come over to see Pace, learn about creative finance." And we'd heard tidbits of it, and we joined, and it's been a game changer for us. Carolina started doing the daily dial, got that sales training that was such a key piece that was missing in the other one, and we haven't looked back.
Great. So, Carolina, so what is your perspective on that and joining, and how did you feel about all of this when you first came into the community?
Coming into the community. So for me, I mean, we had just spent quite a bit of money on that very first mentorship. Then we jumped to mentorship number 2, which I think Stephen forgot to mention, that showed us virtual wholesaling, because our very first deal that we got was out in Washington. We're here in Oregon. We never walked that property. So in a way, things kind of lined up the way they needed to, because of mentorship number 1, I already had a pretty good buyers list nationwide. So yes, they did show us how to comp and how to analyze a property. But now I also have this great network of investors nationwide. So the idea of virtual wholesaling, like, really truly never popped into our mind until we joined mentorship number 2. So then mentorship number 2 happened, and now we're finally in SubTo, and now we're getting more of that. And I swear, I feel like for the first year and a half, I was in that daily dial every single day for the West
Mm.
Coast, learning from these amazing closers, taking tidbits of information, implementing what I learned. I mean, if I'm in there, I literally will be taking notes. If I'm not participating, I'm taking notes and just really absorbing, because as you can see in the background, you can see my teenager running around. I mean, I'm a mom of 3, so I feel like my brain is always like, what do I need to do today? What's for dinner? Do I need to pick up anybody from somewhere? Like, you know what I mean? So I want to make sure that when I'm in that daily dial, I'm taking notes, being fully present, and I want to learn. That's my goal and my purpose at that time. So with mentorship number 1, they didn't show me sales and negotiation, because I'm the one on the phone every day.
Yeah.
Bless my husband's heart, he works his 9 to 5, so he really doesn't do any of the acquisitions piece. Um, so it was on me to learn and just master that skill. So it's been more valuable than you can ever imagine. Just being comfortable talking to sellers, talking to agents, and connecting with buyers, even, because I do it all. So
Yeah.
it's been awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really. So, Stephen, you do have a full-time job. What is it that you do? And tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I'm a techie through and through. I've been coding since around 1990, 91, somewhere around there, doing a lot of software development. And for a while, I got in the IT realm just because it was a necessity. Did the directory thing there, and always fell back to programming. I loved programming. My current official title is like software architect or something like that. But basically, one of my goals in life is, or one of my mottos, I guess you'd say, is I love trying to help people make it so that people can. I love trying to make it so that people can get stuff done. Make it easier for people to get stuff done, right? And whether that means sitting with them and saying, "Hey, what's your current processes? How can we streamline these or improve these types of things?" Or I've used so many different. I'm techie. I love playing with all sorts of stuff, right? So I know different hardware, I know software, I know all sorts of pieces, and they're like, "Hey, you should try this, or look at this site," or showing people different tools that they can use to help them get their stuff done. I hate doing tech support, but I do a consulting thing where I can help people. I've gone to people's houses and train them on different things like that. Or, but I don't like show you how to specifically. Here's how you use X, Y, Z sort of thing. Does that kind of answer it?
Yeah, yeah. You sound like more of an integrator, but when I was talking to Carolina, she says, "Oh no, Stephen's a visionary."
Yeah.
And so I think to talk to that a little bit. How do you see yourself as a visionary?
Like I said, I'm super analytical. I mean, I look at stuff and I figure out exactly how it works. I love digging deep, and that's the not the visionary, the other one.
The integrator.
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 Thank you. That's the integrator side of me, but I'm always taking notes and things, and I have so many ideas that pop in my head. I'll lay in bed and like, oh, I can do this, 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 this. I keep a notebook with me, just full of ideas and lists and everything, and half of them don't do. Just they're ideas. And I throw them out there, and I'll start some of them like, all right, this doesn't work, or I'll begin a piece. I'm like, all right, get 80% there, and like, hey, someone else take care of this, right? So I love setting things up and figuring out how to get those going. I love helping new people, get their LLC set up properly. Not actually doing the setup of the LLC, but pointing them like use these people, like PCS or whatever it may be, getting their banking set up for virtual banking and the virtual mailboxes using Profit First. I love showing how all that can help them. That's just like a little example of it. So yeah. As far as visionaries,
You're also
I have so many
a
ideas, and she's
helper.
like, "Are you actually going to implement that, or is it just? Are you talking now about an idea?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm just idea throwing them out."
So what do you do with that, Carolina, when he throws out all these ideas?
I have learned over time to ask him if that idea that he just, verbalized was meant for my ears or was it his internal thought coming out? Because we've had moments where he's talking to himself and I'm like, "Oh, you want to do that? Great, let's go do it." No, 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 I was just thinking. Let me clarify. So it is challenging, but I think learning more about integrators and visionaries has in a way kind of helped me understand my husband a little bit more because we're all unique, we all have different skills and talents, and I think it's made me appreciate him a little bit more because um, we've been married 23 years, and I feel like
Yeah.
Wow.
sometimes that was kind of an issue because for me, I guess if we're going to use labels, I'm more the integrator, but I kind of consider myself like elementary school because I do not know tools and systems, and I'm not a software engineer. But from an integrator perspective, I am very, very like observant of my time. I love getting things done. I do not like getting to like 80% or less and having that just out there not be done like that. That stresses me out. Like I want to get it to 100%, check it off, and go on to the next. That is me. That is just how I operate. And I'm a workhorse. Like you give me a task, I will get that sucker done. So it's definitely different from the visionary that has like
But it seems
20
to be a
ideas
perfect.
and
Yeah,
like
Yeah.
each one.
she gets stuff done. I mean, you ask her something, it's like done immediately. It's like, all right, why isn't that done yet? She'll give me something like, "Did you do that?" I'm like, uh, uh. Yeah, so it really does. She gets stuff done. It's absolutely awesome. It's amazing. I don't know how she does it,
Yeah.
but she cracks that whip and gets it done.
It's kind of a double-edged sword when you think about it, because you can drive each other crazy, but at the same time, you really do complement each other. So
Yeah.
how does all of this work into the success you've had with SubTo? Can you you gave us the beginning. Now let's look at what's going on now. What are each of you involved in? So Carolina, I noticed
Like,
that you,
Go for it.
yeah, I noticed that you also have coaching as part of your identity, right? How
mhm.
did you end up doing that?
I was, you know what's so funny is I was already kind of, being the Oregon leader out here, and I think just it's my nature to always want to help people. Like I've always enjoyed volunteering. Mom of three, I think like as women, we just naturally give, right? It's not even a question. We just do. And so for me, I was already kind of as we were getting our community was growing, I was kind of, helping new students as they're coming in, kind of get their footing and, navigating them a little bit and helping them like, okay, this is where you need to go. Just because I know how incredibly scary like starting this path can be. And then even though I'm talking your ear off right now, I am a
No,
little
you
bit of an
don't.
introvert. So I very much connect with those people that are, let's say, a little bit shy on the camera, kind of timid and scared to get on the phone. Like, I get it because I was there. Like, that was 3 years ago. That was me, 1000%. Like, over time, we get a little bit better and it's not as uncomfortable. But I want to give back and I want to help people that have spent all of this money and sometimes it's their entire savings to get into these mentorships, and I want them to actually see the fruits of what they're putting in. But I also want them to know that just because you join whatever mentorship you join doesn't mean you're going to automatically be successful. You need to put in the work. They are giving you like the cheat code or kind of the path, the roadmap on how to do it, but it's up to you whether or not you're successful, right? Like you can consume and learn and be like phenomenal and just know all these things, but if you're not taking action, you're never going to see a paycheck. You're never going to get money, right? So you got to go do the work. And so that is one thing that I really really try to help people learn as they're coming in. So and then the coaching, I was very blessed. I think Pace just kind of saw that we were giving, and my name is very very visible in the community. I always try to introduce myself to new people. I try to be there as best I can. There's only one of me, but you
Mhm.
do the best you can with the time you're given.
Yeah.
And I think Pace just kind of he hand selected a few people, and I felt very honored and blessed. And so now I basically my coaching calls basically are what I was already doing for a good solid year, helping people and talking to them. But now I get a little kickback for it, so which is really cool.
Oh, that's nice. I didn't know about the coaching program. So that's great. That's
Yeah.
wonderful. So let's dive in a little bit as far as Pace's community is concerned. It when you joined, it was what you said between 2 and 3,000 people, and that you were personally invited. It sounds like by a member of the community to check it out. So now it's grown, and in fact, just this August of 2023, it hit the 10,000 mark. How have you seen that evolve, and what has that meant to your business? And what does it mean to you personally each? Stephen, I see you smiling so and shaking your head, so let's hear from you first on that.
Yeah. Well, just beginning off, where there's a lot of, and everyone, it hits everyone. It's like a fire hose of information, all these Zooms and everything like that. And just learning all that information. This information's available to everyone, and a lot of people don't actually go and do the curriculum, and it's so important to do that. Um, the thing I love and that I've seen happening throughout, sorry, one sec, that I've seen happen throughout it is as the community has grown, the opportunities to work with each other has grown too. There's new things that Pace keeps introducing that, we get a lot of people have the shiny object syndrome piece off of it. Oh, I'm a little getting the feedback. A lot of people get the shiny object syndrome and like, oh, I'm going to work on this and that and this and that, and just picking one thing and working that for a good solid amount of time. You find out after doing it for a while that you don't necessarily like that. Great, you gave it a shot, and then move on to the next piece. And I kind of would like to try this. So there's a lot of pivoting as you go, and you'll see people doing different things, and everyone's growing, right? So there's always new things to try and ways that you contribute to the community itself. And I think I love that part. There's a lot of opportunities that have come about because of it.
Yeah. So I'd like to get your perspective a little bit on that because, and Carolina, I'm not leaving you out. I mean, I want to get Stephen's perspective having to do with the organization, the kind of organization that I look at Pace's community as a whole organization. And having myself come from a background of working with large corporations to very small entrepreneurs and everything in between, um, I can see kind of a shift in the way that success for entrepreneurship is establishing itself. Especially, you brought up COVID as a
Hmm.
pivotal point. That more than ever, if an entrepreneur wants to truly be successful, having a large community, the old expression of "it takes a village," to generate that success seems to be becoming more and more important as people work remotely more and more. So that's my perspective, but I'd like to hear yours, Stephen, as to how you view the community as far as benefiting the individuals. You mentioned the learning process, but how do you see the organization as a whole, as the community that Pace has created?
Well, that's one of the great things is there is so much that oh, I'm getting a feedback. I don't know if that's me or um. Either way, there's so much that if you don't know how to do something, there is someone in the community that knows how to do it, and that's what I love about it. Is like you can post in the group saying, "Hey, I'm working on this. Here's a roadblock I'm hitting. Here's a new um, thing that I've hit. I don't know how to get around. What have other people done in the community to get past that?" And there is so many people available for that, and it's just working together. I love that. And as the community grows, you've always got to do your due diligence and vet the people that you work with, get your JV agreements in place, like, just so that everybody's protected, and all those upfront contracts that say, here's what we agree we're going to do, and here's your role in that. And that applies into when you set up your LLCs, your operating agreements, or those different things. I love that we get taught how to do that and do it effectively. And there's going to be disasters. I mean, we've had them in our experience, and it's just a matter of going through them, learning from it, and then teaching others what you learned from it, so that when they come towards it, they don't have to make the same mistakes that you do.
Okay, great, thank you. And Carolina, how about you? Do you see a shift as far as how your business has experienced success as the community has grown, or what your role is within the community?
I don't know that, like, for our business that we've seen too much of a shift on our end. I think we still fully, like, we're still go-givers, and we always welcome new people into our local, because for us we have the big community, and then being leaders we have our local communities. So for us, we always try to include the locals as best we can, because we are kind of scattered a little bit, region wise. But we always try to do monthly meetups. We always try to do bi-weekly. Like for me, going back to, what did Carolina, when she first started this journey, need? For me, it was, I needed hand holding on my first deal. I needed someone a little more experienced to, because I was praying to the big guy that I was doing the right thing. Like I knew the process in my mind, but I was still like that fear of, gosh, I hope I can come through for this homeowner. So I always try to put myself out there that I can help you get that deal to the close table. Bring it to me before you lock it up. Let's analyze it, underwrite it together. I will show you the paperwork. If it's cash, if it's creative, please use a TC. Like, I'm not touching that with a stick. Like, have someone that knows what they're doing do the paperwork. I have buyers, and I have trusted buyers. That's the other thing that's so golden, is like, I love working with my buyers. I have repeat buyers, like people that I know that will close. They're not gonna, because I've, on one of our deals, I remember we had one where it was locked up. I had my non-refundable from the buyer. He didn't show up for the close date. So then I look like like, what just happened? This
Oh
guy didn't show up,
no.
right? So you want to make sure you're able to come through, and having this network that, Stephen and I have worked really hard for the last few years to create, it's become a little bit of a family, right? And so I try my best to work within our community. If I need to go outside, I will. But um, I guess going back to that, it's just it is growing, but we still treat it as our local family, and we want to
Yeah.
see more collaboration and more unity that way.
Yeah. So as leaders, do you have a group local to you in Portland that you a meetup, what we call meetups or anything like that?
Yeah, absolutely. We've got the Pacific Northwest one, which is regional Oregon, Washington, Montana, and Washington.
Wow.
Four of them,
Uh-huh.
whatever. Yeah. Anyway, we've got the
Idaho,
regional one,
Alaska, I think as
Idaho,
well.
Alaska. Yeah, we're a big little group. And so there's a larger piece where we have our meetups online every week, and then we'll do the local in-person ones too. But just as far as Oregon, Southern Washington, we have a meetup every once in a while. We were doing it monthly. We're actually switching to quarterly, but where we meet in person, same type of thing. We do talk about deals that we have and that sort of thing, and get to know each other on a personal level, do the networking. And then on the side, aside from that, we have every 2 weeks, or is it twice a month, I should say, we have this where we invite people outside of our community to learn how to do like lead generation and calls and that sort of thing, which has been absolutely awesome. Teaching them some of the ropes, how to make those calls, and a lot of them haven't ever done that before, and we will walk them through that whole process. So it's not just within the community. We're trying to give value to the investment community in our local area also, even outside of SubTo, which is a key piece, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. So you have, when you're talking about that, you have the physical meetups that you get
Hmm.
together, and then you also have virtual meetups. Is that what you're
Yep,
saying to
every week.
help
Yeah.
to help each other? Okay, great. So, do either of you have something you'd like to include before we kind of close this interview for today? I'd really like to hear any suggestions. You've both been really productive as far as offering the information that you have. I love the way. I'm sorry, but he walks this way, but then on Stevens it walks this way. So, anyway, um, I'd be interested in hearing how you'd like to leave our audience today with regards to our SubTo community, with regards to your role within that community, and what people can do if they want to get in touch with you or work with you. How does that happen?
Yeah, so I guess one thing is we're buying. We want to do buy and holds. We have, was it 24 doors right now, and we want to add to that. Specifically, we're holding in Oregon and Great Falls, Montana, and then
Oh,
we can
wow.
do help. We help. Carolina is absolutely awesome at Dispo. She's a closer too, but she doesn't like broadcasting that. We do that for a lot of our stuff, but anything that we love helping people, right? So if you have a deal that you need help with, we'd love to JV with you and get you across that finish line and get your first deal done, or your second, or whatever number it is. There's so many different things um, that a lot of people don't know, and we've been through a lot of those and love helping with that. So, Caroline, you want to add to that?
Yeah, it's just basically what you just said. I think when you're starting, it can be incredibly scary and intimidating. And if you're local to us, please come to our call sessions. It's Dealmaker Squad on Facebook. Look us up. I welcome everybody. I make it very clear it's a action driven session. It's not networking. We'll have networking at the end a little bit, but come prepared to take action. We want people there, bring their cell phone, bring their laptops, pen and paper, and a good attitude, like a willingness to do the work. Don't just sit there and watch, because I think a lot of us, going back to when we get started, we get sucked into just consuming. This isn't it. You're going to come here and
Yeah.
you're going to get on the phone. And I want you to, like, I feel like I get more excited for people that because I'll ask them, I'm like, who here made their very first phone call? And I get more excited for that because that is such a huge step, right? From just sitting in the sidelines and watching. They conquered that fear. Now they know it's possible and they can keep going, right? So that to me is huge. And then just know that you have to have a thick skin. I'm a recovering people pleaser, is what I call myself. And I think being in this business, you kind
That's
of
great.
learn to adapt a little bit, right? Because we get used to that rejection. You know, we're people. We want to be accepted. We want to make everyone happy. That's just normal. But when you're talking on the phone with either agents or sellers, just know that it's not always going to be a yes. You're going to hear no more often than not. And in your mind, like for me, to keep my sanity, I make it a game, right? Because like a little board game, my little character moves one section closer. Like I get a no, awesome, I'm going to get to the next step, right? And eventually I'm going to get to that finish line, or I'm going to collect my 200 pass go, whatever you want to call it, when I get that yes finally. So make it a game so that you can keep your sanity. That helps me a lot. That's my mindset to just keep going, keep getting on the calls and taking action.
Boy, I love that analogy. That's great. And it's good, and it's good for mindset, because I can also relate to getting stuck in the learning. I love learning. And in fact, one of the things that I say is, when you stop learning, you're dead, that's the end.
Yeah.
So you just, but if you don't stop yourself and actually be willing to make mistakes and make yourself look foolish or feel like you look foolish, even though you may not, that's where the rubber hits the road. That's where your success starts. And that's what gets you going to the next deal. So I really appreciate that perspective,
Yeah.
Carolina.
And I will say that we are forever students. I am not saying don't learn. Like you do want to learn, but it's a balance, right? Don't just spend all
Yeah.
day learning. Set time aside to do money making activities, because learning is awesome. I'm absolutely keep learning. Like that's going to propel you as well. But take the action. Implement what you learned during that day and go do the action that you need to do. And we all are guilty of it. Like we all have moments where we don't want to, but you have to be consistent. You have to get out there and you have to put in the work. Otherwise, you're not going to see any results, and then you're going to be kicking yourself. And time is our enemy sometimes, right? Like in this industry, you have to be in it for a good while before you actually start seeing those
Yeah.
sexy returns and checks that you want, that we all came in here for, right? So keep
Right.
going.
Right.
Yeah.
It's so easy to spend a day learning and then pat yourself on the back and say, wow, look at all that I learned. I deserve a break. And you don't put it into action. But really, where the real learning comes into play is when you make those mistakes
Oh my
and it
gosh.
gets messy and you have to dig your
So
way
valuable.
out. Yeah,
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
then that's where the real gold is.
Hmm.
So thank you both very much. Just in closing, I want to remind everybody that this is a podcast about community and about the power of community. And Carolina and Stephen have joined us very generously, because I know even Carolina's got an appointment immediately after we close this. Stephen's off to do his bidding with whatever it is that you're doing. We all have so much going on. I just want to say to everybody now, as we close, thank you for joining us. Please check out the SubTo community. It's an extremely valuable resource, especially if you're interested in real estate investing and more, because as Carolina mentioned earlier, I believe, he's growing in so many different directions. In fact, we didn't even get a chance, Stephen, to talk with you about multifamily. Maybe in the future we can come back and do that and learn from your experience with that syndication fund. But there's more. I mean, Pace is talking about buying and selling businesses. He's talking about buying and selling vehicles and trailers and rental businesses and mobile home. I mean, it just expands. It's just his visions and Stephen's, with the writing down all these ideas in the book and trying to cherry pick. But Pace uses this community too, I think, to cherry pick for him. I think that it's a mutual benefit, and that's one of the things that needs to be said about the SubTo community, is that as brilliant as Pace can be with all of these crazy ideas, that he puts them into action with the help of the community. And so it's a mutual benefit that Pace is growing in his success, leaps and bounds. And he's not just pulling the community with him, the community is helping him take those leaps and bounds. And I think that's the mutual success that this podcast is focused on. and that we want to talk with more people about. So thank you both very much. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you
And
for having us.
I'll look forward
Thank you.
to working with you again. Thanks, Stephen.
Thank you
Thanks,
so much.
Carolina.
Thank you much.
Okay.